It's no secret that Secret is currently the strongest team in the world, but here at the Beyond Epic tournaments, they actually lost 0-2 against Nigma. So in the first game, Nigma last picked a Meepo into a very favorable lineup and easily won with that cheese pick. But here in the second game, I think it's a fairly even draft, and I'm going to see how they're going to make this 4 Protect 1 and lineup around Miracle's Anti-Mage work. And in particular, we're going to look at Mind Control's Beastmaster, who's actually going to be playing the mid lane here.
Lessons that cannot be unlearned.
Welcome to the Judge of Obelisk. So right off the bat, Nigma trying to obscure the lanes they want to run. They sent this one boar to the bottom lane. Yeah, they have Mind Control here at the top lane, near the top rune. So they don't want the enemy to know how they're going to lane this. And they sort of want to see the enemy lanes first before they commit to their own laners. And of course, Beastmaster is a great hero for that. You have these bows, you have these hawks that can scout and see where enemy heroes are going. And what they actually want here is they want Beastmaster to not lane against Enchantress, because Enchantress can just take over your bows with Enchant, has a 20-second cooldown, so that you can take over all your bows and you're just going to be really sad. And on the other hand, they don't want Bad Red to lane against Phantom Lance because he can dispel the sticky napalm with his doppelganger. So they're going to kill 2 birds with one stone and rotate Beastmaster into the mid lane against this Phantom Lancer, which is a fine matchup. Try for the arrow here, doesn't hit, but it's nothing much lost here. They have this decent matchup for Beastmaster, and then Bad Rider is not exactly super happy with laning against Kunkka, but at least you get to avoid the Beastmaster versus Enchantress matchup. And this is a fairly passive lane. Neither hero can really kill the other, just a little bit of back and forth harassment. Occasionally Phantom Knight is going to try to go after a boar here, but there's not really too much kill potential here. So it's just about outlasting the enemy and trying to get the better CS here, and so far it's fairly even with a slight advantage to Mind Control, although it has to be said that some of these denies are actually denies on his own boars, so not regular creep denies. So fairly even lane here so far, and at the top lane things are not going quite as well. Bad Red are struggling a little bit, and then at bottom it's going fairly well for Nigma so far. Having upper vision in the mid lane is very important, but if you do place a ward here, these are spots that are fairly often going to be devoted, but as Beastmaster you can just put a hawk here in the mid lane, get that upper vision, and if they deward the hawk, it's not that much gold that they gain from that. It's not a big deal, it's not really worth a sentry here. And then they have these 2 wards here, giving them lots of vision on the river, giving them vision of that arcane rune, and this way there's just no chance that Mind Control can get ganked unless they use a smoke for that. So it's gonna go for that arcane rune, and with those hawks you want to be a bit conservative with them typically, because if you just spam them out you're gonna run out of mana pretty soon. But if you have an arcane rune, might as well send a hawk here, and it's gonna send this hawk to guard this rune spot, which is going to be an important point of contention in half a minute. So that's going to help them secure that rune. And in the meantime, Mind Control is now just going to hang out here, and then he's going to take this creep wave with him, and he's just going to march to that rune spot. So he sees both heroes at the bottom. He knows that they're not very close to this rune. They can't really contest this. So you can just take this rune. There's nothing that can really stop him here. And at the same time, he's not losing any last hits by taking that creep wave with him and sort of forcing the Phantom to stay here to tank that creep wave under his tower. So very nice heads up play here from Mind Control. But now he's going to run into both those heroes, and Puppy can sort of take over one of the boars, kills the other one, and now Mind Control has to run away. But nothing much was lost here, only a couple of balls. So excellent play here so far from Beastmaster. And as you can see, however, actually the laning phase is going slightly in favor of Secrets. They have a 1k advantage right now, and it's mostly this top lane which is just going really well for Kunkka. Gonna try for a kill here in this Kunkka, and yeah, he's not really dying here. He's using his wand, and they get that double kill here, or actually 1 kill each. So yeah, this top lane is a complete disaster for Nigma, and Nisha is having a really good start on this safe lane Kunkka. Raw is available, so you can definitely get a kill here if you have a support rotation, but against Phantom Lance it's not actually that easy. But I'm going to try for it now. Go for the Raw and this fairly long range arrow, but it's not quite enough here, and Phantom Lance actually manages to survive here, and GH is now in trouble, but he's going to be able to leap to safety and survive on a sliver of HP. So a whole bunch of rotations here, but nothing really dying. On most heroes, when we go for Necro 1, you typically want to go for the Sage's Masks first, because they're just such an efficient item. But Beastmaster doesn't have that much mana troubles in the early game, so he's actually gone for the Bell of Strength first. But then once you get to Primal Raw, you can sort of spend more mana, and then it's nice to have those extra Sage's Masks for some extra mana. He's also bought himself a Clarity here, and that's gonna fill him back up in no time. A lot of times as Beastmaster, I actually like to go for a Dominator. I think it's actually in most games better to go for Dominator than to go for this Necro build. But here we're playing against Enchantress. Enchantress can just take over your dominating creep, which is quite annoying, and she can no longer take over Necro units. So in this game I completely understand that he's going for Necro 3 and skipping the Dominator, but I still like Dominator in games where you don't have any of these counter heroes on the opposite team. So now that Enchantress is hanging out in the mid lane, you don't really want to be there as Beastmaster. Most of your power just comes from your bows, and if you can just take over your bows, you're not doing that much. So instead he's going to rotate to the top lane. It's going to help out this Batrider, maybe find a kill here. Batrider has Lasso available. You can just eat a mango and he has enough mana for Lasso. And so with Lasso plus this Raw, you can kill any hero at any time. So that's why it makes sense here for them to pressure top lane. Obviously also a very important tower to take. And just putting pressure here creates some space for the anti-mage. Means the anti-mage is going to have an easier time. Although as I say that, actually putting some pressure onto the anti-mage, and we're going to kill him here with some nice spell usage. But at least in the meantime they can put pressure on the tower top and maybe get that tower kill, and in the meanwhile also GH is going to hang out in mid lane a little bit and get some much needed experience because he's quite unleveled. They're searching for a hero right now. Poppy being quite elusive, and with that first level untouchable, it's also not that easy to kill. So definitely need that Batrider here. But with Lasso, that's an easy kill, and without it, they still have a chance. And he actually doesn't have to use Lasso here, actually out of mana. So they get the kill, and in the meantime, Mind Control with his Necro now completed. Has killed that wave, which is very fast with Necro with that piercing damage, and he takes the tower. So that is sort of what you want to do as Beastmaster. You want to push those towers that the enemy not defending, and thereby sort of open up the map. And in particular this tower is very important. Opens up like this part of the map and makes it a lot harder for the enemy to farm in their own safe lane. And then eventually you want to take down this tower too, and that just opens up the entire enemy jungle, makes it very easy to claim this outpost. So this is just generally the easiest lane to push, and also a very rewarding lane to push. So as Beastmaster you want to hang out a lot in that general area. Right now Secret are in a very strong position. They're 3k up. The heroes are just a little bit better at early game fighting, especially since that wee Batrider is so very underfarmed. He's actually below Poppy's position 5 Enchantress. That's how poor Weeha is in this game. So that's a huge problem. In their lineup they have these two cores they can fight early, the Batrider and the Beastmaster, and then this anti-mage which needs a lot of space and needs to find his farm. So if you have one of these two fighting cores being so underfarmed, that's a huge problem, and it's a bit difficult for them to play the game because of this. But while they put pressure on bottom, Beastmaster has been pressuring the mid lane, forcing enemy to go back there, and this is a great way you can have of defending your own safe lane, your own dead lane. You don't really want to be down there if you can help it. So if you can force the enemy to come to you, to come to some other part of the map, that's great. So he gets a courier kill here, loses a bunch of summons in the process though, and we are once again dying. So things are not going too well so far, but Antimage is slowly but surely finding some farm. He's still quite a bit behind Nisha's Kunkka, but he is going to eventually outscale that Kunkka, and he's also just a stronger farmer than Phantom Lancer. As long as the team can create enough space, Miracle can carry this game. But on the other hand, this Phantom Lancer from Matsu is also definitely capable of carrying this game. So this is just a game where both the position 1 heroes can just do a lot if they get the farm. So this game is all about just making space for Miracle and buffing him up and having him carry the team. Speaking of creating space, Mind Control is smoked here and wants to find a kill on Enchantress and then take the mid tower. But there's a lot of rotations coming in here, and Mind Control realizes right away that he has to get out of here. But it's far too late at this point, and he just dies. And that is a fairly costly death. I also got some of these summons. So yeah, he did create space, but it's very costly. Now though, Sai is a bit far forward here and dies in his position 3, Vengeful, and we are finally is able to get something done here. Gets that kill, and he now has his Boots of Travel, so he's no longer quite as poor as he used to be, but he's still behind Poppy. Mind Control is doing some pushing here, and he's pushing the dead lane, which is always quite dangerous. But the reason he does this is just to create some space. You generally want to create space in an area that the Antimage is not, so that the Antimage can farm safely while you sort of distract the enemy and force them to react to what you're doing. So he's sort of carefully pushing this wave. He saw a bunch of heroes elsewhere, so he now can show himself, but for the most part he didn't actually show himself. But now that he knows there's lots of enemies up here, it's safe enough to just push this tower together with his catapult. Also see he's cleared some space here with the axes to see if someone is TPing to T1 tower. He also has a Hawk here, so this is a fairly safe push. He knows quite well that no enemy is nearby. He also has his 2 supports in the area, so if a single hero comes here, they can easily get a kill with Roar. But now that Enchantress is here, you can't really kill this Enchantress, so he's just going to retreat here. He forced out the glyph, he forced some rotations, and now they can actually rotate to top and actually win the fight. So this is sort of the whole idea behind split pushing. It's not so much about just taking objectives and killing buildings and such. It's also very much about forcing the enemy out of position. So the enemy had to deal with this push down here, and this allowed Nigma to get a numbers advantage here in the top lane. Now they have 5 heroes here and outnumber everyone, and they just get a bunch of kills here. Even though they're behind in net worth, they just get so much out of that fight. When you're itemizing, it's very important to keep in mind what your win conditions are and what your game plan is. And here in this game, the game plan for Nigma is very simply create space for Antimage, have Antimage carry you. That is your goal. So what are the kind of items you can buy to make that a reality? Well, you want to buy the items that support Antimage. You want to buy an item like Vlad. Vlad is great for Antimage. This gives him so much sustain, and just the lifesteal is great for him. There was a time when Antimages would actually buy Vlads themselves. It's no longer strong in today's patch, but of course it's great to have this Vlads on your team, so that's what Beastmaster is doing. Obviously Beastmaster also innately just providing this attack speed aura, which is great for Anti-Mage. And Also, there's an aura on Necro Book, which is 9 attack speed, 9 movement speed, which is not that big of a deal, especially the attack speed is kind of negligible, but movement speed is quite nice. It's a bit more than the Yasha gives. By the way, all the people who play position 4 Mirana in my pubs, take note. GH is not going for stupid items like Maelstrom. He's buying sensible stuff that helps out his team. He's buying proper support items like an urn, which is always a very efficient item. He's buying a mech, which of course heals the entire team, and most especially is going to help out Anti-Mage, because Anti-Mage is quite a low HP hero, especially at the start, so having a mech in the team fight is great. And then they're also buying, or at least thinking about buying Solar Crest here on Kuroki. Solar Crest is a really strong item for Anti-Mage, just gives you so much extra tankiness and attack speed that it really helps out if you have a hard carry like that. Just put all these buffs onto him. Eventually they're not actually going to go for the Solar Crest here on Kuroki, but instead on Beastmaster, on Mind Control. Just about when you get that sort of timing for that item, it's you just get it much faster on the Beastmaster, and this Kuroki Warlock is very underfarmed. When you're hemmed in on all sides and you're not really daring to show your hero, here's what you can do. You can just send out those Necro Books and one of your balls and just have this sort of hit squad. You can snipe couriers, and then you can just cut those waves. So you don't just want to push out the waves blindly, because then these get killed if the enemy control the map, but you can just meet a wave somewhere and just kill that wave, and that just means that this push in the bot lane has to stop. Now that the wave is here in a very safe position, you can sort of farm it, but you're still being very careful, just using axes and a bow here, and keeping his own hero safe. And that's how you have to play if you're behind in a game like this. So you're not only behind the net worth, also just the hero has not yet come online. Anti-Mage can kind of fight a little bit, but really you want to look for that third item. You want to have the Battle Fury, that Mantis, and then one more item, then Anti-Mage can really start to fight. But right now he just is still completely in farm mode, and they just have to create some more space for him, and doing these kind of moves is a great way of doing that. And yeah, they're going to get killed off now, but there's also a lot of heroes involved in that have revealed themselves now. So these are the kinds of moves that you want to do when you don't have map control. Most of the times Beastmasters will go for that 6 armor talent, but here Mind Control actually going for the Hawk cooldown talent, which is actually really strong talent. Just reduces the cooldown by almost half, and these Hawks can be very powerful, give you so much map vision, and really when you're playing from behind like this, these 6 armor are not really that much of a difference here, so just having that better map control, better map vision can be more impactful than having a little bit of extra armor here. So they find Zai here, get a kill on, and now that Matsuma is here, out of mana, he's also an easy target. Find a great rock here from Kuro, and as Beastmaster, you just want to be a bit careful in those fights. When you're ahead like this, you can go in, but in general you just have to watch out that Beastmaster is not a particularly tanky hero, especially with these kinds of items. But if you're winning fights this hard, you can just keep with your team, keep chasing, keep applying the Solar Crest to the Anti-Mage, give him extra movement speed and attack speed. Anti-Mage getting so much attack speed here from Beastmaster. So when Beastmaster is nearby, he gets the 40 attack speed here, then another 70 attack speed from, actually 80 attack speed from Solar Crest. So yeah, that's just so much attack speed, 120 attack speed onto Anti-Mage, on top of all the attack speed he already has. So Anti-Mage really dishing out the damage, and Puppy with this untouchable is very much touched now. And from being behind by 4k, something like that, they've now swung things around. They're now a slight net worth lead here, and they can just go straight for this Roshan, which of course goes really fast with that Solar Crest with all these auras, and with Vlad also can do this without really taking damage. And yeah, so now they're actually firmly in control of the game with that Aegis, and that cheese, and they're going to find even more kills here with Secret being a bit too far forward here, trying to contest but being actually too late to do that. And now as mind control, you don't run in here too far forward. You try to play it a bit safe, spam out your axes, and then when you find a good target, you roar them. Kuro actually in a bit of trouble here. That Vengeful Spirit Illusion hitting for a lot of damage. So now Miracle is still fine, he still has the Aegis, but mind control has to be a bit careful. Then we're gonna get caught out here, but Secret are just slowly dying off, and Miracle, he's had enough space, he has his items, and now they can just put on a lot of pressure. All game long, mind control has been pushing with these summons, and now the enemy want to clear these summons out. You think nothing bad is going to happen, but actually there's a smoke behind them, and Miracle comes in, gets a kill with Weeha chasing. Still has lasso available. He wants to find something more than Poppy, and he finds Nisha. Nisha gets stunned up, the rock dropped down, and everything on Secret is just dying. Miracle gets bashes here. They also have the net, and yeah, this is not looking good for Secret. They just lost 3 heroes, and Kuroki is not going to die this time. So now they can just push high ground, and you just keep spamming Solar Crest onto this anti-mage. And yeah, now with 3 people dead, of course, you can just go up here and hit. But if you're pushing high ground and you don't have this overwhelming numbers advantage, you want to stay back with Beastmaster and sort of be a bit in the back lines, be the counter initiator. When you're ahead like this, you want to control the enemy triangle. This is a very good area to sit. Whenever the enemy leaves the base, they can sort of have to pass by this area that you control. And if you're in the high ground here, it's actually quite difficult for the Dire team to contest you. It's just farming with anti-mage here. They're going to farm and push in both those waves, and the enemy sort of have to come out and sort of do something about this. But actually that's enough of coming out here. Witchbridge just shows himself here, and then Miracle can just jump in like a madman, get the kill, and we are jumping further here. They're gonna get this position 3 Venge, and from here on out they can just clean up this game. And you might look at the score, see this 9-2 for Anti-Mage and think, okay, it's just a game that Miracle carried. And yes, he did carry the game, but it's also just in large part because he had so much support, because he got so much space created by his team, and it is a team effort that leads to the win here. And Nigma, with very good teamwork, claim victory here over Secret, navigating the situation where they were behind in the early game, early mid game very nicely, doing a lot of split pushing, avoiding fights, and then eventually they pounced and won the game. So that's how Nigma was able to overcome Secret and win 2-0 in the group stage of the Beyond Epic tournament. Now this means that Nigma is going to be in the upper bracket, where Secret still has to play against OG to see who makes it into the upper bracket. If you like this video, share it with some of your friends, and I have some more Beastmaster content for you on this channel. Just click one of the 2 videos on the screen, and all is willing, I'll see you there.